We are hours away from the polls opening across New Hampshire. On the Republican side, Donald Trump has a commanding lead, but the real fight is for second place. Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, John Kasich, and Jeb Bush are all in a close race. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders has a 10-point lead over Hillary Clinton among likely Democratic voters. Clinton narrowly beat Bernie Sanders in last week's Iowa caucuses. But Politico reports that a shakeup is in the works at top levels of Clinton's campaign. According to that report, Bill and Hillary Clinton are not happy with their campaign's messaging and digital strategy. The story says the Clintons had been planning to reassess staffing at the campaign's Brooklyn headquarters after the first four primaries. But the Clintons have become increasingly caustic in their criticism of aides and demanded the reassessment sooner. John Dickerson is our CBS News political director and moderator of Face the Nation. He's in Manchester, New Hampshire. John, thanks for being with us. I want to start with this Politico story. Hillary Clinton only narrowly lost Iowa, and New Hampshire has leaned towards Bernie Sanders for a long time. What is the source of the panic that's outlined in that article?
Well, it's a little hard to tell. They're not at panic yet. They would like to have won Iowa by more. They would like to be in a better position. Instead of having to answer why she's not on the march towards the nomination, she's having to deal with the Sanders problem. But they are still confident that she has the ground game and that the map looks good for her going forward. So the candidate, Hillary Clinton, has said she's not going to be doing a big staff shakeup, but she did say that they're going to be taking stock, which means they're going to be bringing in some people to help with the messaging and to deal with the campaign going forward. But essentially, the worry, I don't know if panic is maybe too strong a word. The worry, though, is that she's not, she's not doing as well as they would have hoped.
John, on CBS this morning, Donald Trump described the Marco Rubio on repeat moment as a massive blow-up. Can one poor debate performance really hurt him?
Well, it has hurt candidates in the past. The question is, can one bad debate performance hurt Marco Rubio? There is a need for a Marco Rubio in the Republican Party right now. There are voters out there who want an alternative to Donald Trump and to Ted Cruz. They think in that group that Marco Rubio has the most potential, that he can reach voters in a general election, that he has a message about the future, and that if these questions about his experience and whether he's ready for the job, those can be handled, as one voter was telling me today, by the people he hires and brings into his White House. And so there are voters out there who really want Marco Rubio to do well, and so he's got some room there. And we're starting to see there's a CNN tracking poll that shows that it didn't look like it hurt him that much in the debate. So he may have some armor there that people might not have thought he had, or that people thought might have been damaged by that moment in the debate.
Chris Christie is polling in the single digits, and it's really hard to imagine that his attacks on Senator Rubio would boost him to second place. So who benefited the most from their duel on Saturday?
Well, we don't quite know yet. I mean, this tracking poll would suggest that Marco Rubio didn't fall. In fact, he's gone up, and that Christie has stayed flat. There's also a theory in politics called the murder-suicide, which is when one candidate takes on another, they fall, and the candidate they're going after falls, and a third person rises. I would say in that scenario, the person who rises or who stays where they are is Donald Trump, which is to say he was doing very well in New Hampshire. Nobody at that debate really took anything away from him. And to the extent that he had a bad moment in the debate or that there were questions about his candidacy, it has been overshadowed, as one Cruz supporter was complaining to me today, it's been overshadowed by the constant fixation on Marco Rubio and the battle between Rubio and the three governors. That's what's controlled the conversation. And if that's keeping the conversation going, then the conversation that's not happening is the fight between Cruz and Trump.
John, we're seeing a lot more pictures of Donald Trump at diners and small venues in New Hampshire, in contrast to the large rallies that we've come to associate him with leading up to Iowa. Is that a sign, perhaps, that the campaign has recognized a failure in a sort of wholesale politics strategy and is shifting more toward traditional retail politics?
That's right. It's a sign, in fact, that they're making that switch. And you could see Donald Trump kind of making that pivot at the end towards just a few days before the vote in Iowa, toning things down a little bit, adjusting his behavior and strategy, and this is a part of that general adjustment. And the idea is basically that the voters that he first got, that first group of Trump voters, they're locked in, they're not going away. But he has to be able to build his vote, and that's important not just to win the nomination, but then if he's going to get in a general election, he has to convince those voters who are very skeptical about him. And if you look at the entrance polls in Iowa, the groups that he had difficulty with were the groups who made their decision 1 month out. So a month out, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and then the day before voting. They weren't going to Trump. He sort of got his group and then wasn't doing a great job of convincing others. He's got to do a better job of convincing other voters, because when the field narrows, whenever that may be, it'll be harder to win with that low number or that sort of 30% if he's got a ceiling.
All right, John Dickerson for us in New Hampshire. John, thank you.
Thanks, Ellie.